Hey everybody, welcome to another series of the Engineering Review. I'm Josh Lupresto, VP of Sales Engineering here at Telarus, and I'm joined with Mike Sharp, Chief Product Officer over the UCC Business Unit at LogMeIn. Mike, welcome. We're excited to have you today.
Thanks, happy to be here.
So I think you've got a unique viewpoint. I want to dive in, right? You've obviously been in the picture a long time as a co-founder, and you've seen this thing grow. Can you kind of tell everybody to get this thing started, the story of LogMeIn and Jive and where it's kind of started from a platform perspective and how you've seen it evolve over time?
Sure. So the LogMeIn and Jive stories came together a few years ago, but both companies had started 10, 15 years ago. LogMeIn was started in Budapest because driving across the river between Buda and Pest in the main downtown took hours. And so engineers invented technology that allowed for remote access and management of servers, mostly so that they didn't have to drive across the river every day. Jive started about 12 years ago in a little bit south of Salt Lake City, Utah, with an aim to simplify and streamline unified communications, to make it more cost effective, to make it more accessible, to make solutions that would improve businesses' ability to communicate and collaborate effectively. Over time, both of those products have evolved. LogMeIn merged with some of the Goto Meeting, Goto Webinar type products, pulled those into the portfolio, and Jive was acquired by LogMeIn about 2.5 years ago. A big part of that acquisition, the reason for that acquisition, was to round out the unified communications and collaboration portfolio. If we look across the portfolio and the products that are part of it, really any way that you need to collaborate or communicate inside or outside of your organization is covered by the portfolio. And we're pretty excited to be able to bring all of those different pieces together, from video to audio, PBX, chat, SMS, all of the different components that make up the communication landscape. Overall, company has north of 4,000 employees, offices in, home offices now in thousands of locations worldwide, but primary offices in 10 or so different countries, and is one of the largest SaaS companies on the planet.
It's interesting, and I remember seeing this. This was kind of one of the starts of seeing these two companies come together. We saw that news and we went, wait, oh wow, because such a big name, right? Jive, everybody knows that. Everybody knows LogMeIn. And we went, oh, okay, I see what happened. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so it's cool to see that right in our own backyard.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now, kind of in this combined entity. Let's talk about how LogMeIn is really positioned to help an agent win, right? When you're talking about, we're in the midst of all this craziness right now with COVID and everything else. How do you feel now that LogMeIn is really positioned to help an agent win?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Increasingly, agents are asked to do more and more and more. It's been fascinating to see this evolve. Even the first time I met the Telarus team years ago, to see what it meant to be an agent and what type of things you were expected to be able to talk about and be able to help businesses with. That's evolved tremendously from the deregulation of last couple decades, where really it was about just line replacement. Now agents are expected to be pretty conversant up and down the IT stack, to be able to talk networks, to be able to talk Wi-Fi and monitoring and threat assessment and mitigation and all of these different pieces. The LogMeIn portfolio is a real asset to agents as they seek to address the broad spectrum of work anywhere needs that businesses have. It's the collaboration piece, the PBX, the voice telephony systems that came from the Jive acquisition. It's the meeting and webinar, Goto Meeting and Goto Webinar products that support thousands and thousands of participants or groups as small as what we're doing here. But there's a whole lot of other products that we offer that help businesses collaborate and work effectively. Products like LastPass that help improve security, particularly of distributed workforces. There's products like Central and Rescue that allow access into remote systems. So now that everyone's working on machines spread across everywhere, often bring your own devices, those parts of the portfolio start to be more and more helpful. It's also layering on capabilities like some of the things I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later here, Josh, but the Goto Room capabilities. So room-based telepresence. We've got all these huddle rooms everywhere, and people are still bringing laptops and unfolding them and trying to get the camera just right. So it's enabling agents to speak not even not even just to the technology types, but also to all of the different places where that work needs to happen. The laptop, the mobile device, the physical handset, the physical huddle room, the conference room, going all across that spectrum. So when you're partnered with LogMeIn for these opportunities, you've got a lot of confidence that no matter what flavor the needs of that organization are, the LogMeIn portfolio is going to be able to address it.
And I love that too. I think people have strung together these solutions for a long time. In the same way they've had bad experiences in other areas of technologies, they've had bad experiences of, well, all right, we can plan on every meeting is going to start 10 minutes late because we know there's going to be some sort of a issue or quality or adapter or whatever. So appreciate that, some of these we're going to jump into. You guys have created a really cool solution for that. So let's jump into a couple of these products, right? I'm just going to pick 3 or 4 of these products here. Let's start with UC. So I want to talk about, from an engineering and development perspective, it's great that you've got all these offerings. So let's talk about, when you walk into traditional UC environments that you guys are solving, what are you seeing being the biggest winner when you go and solve, right? Why are they selecting LogMeIn for that UC? What have you seen that, how have you seen that win out?
Great. A lot of times what we see when we look at those UC environments is siloing and fragmentation. Different tool sets for video, for SMS, for chat and messaging, for phone calls, and it's just uncomfortable and awkward. There's a lot of hidden cost to that siloing and that fragmentation. Obvious ones that aren't hidden are just paying for multiple solutions from multiple service providers. The CFOs that you work with obviously don't like that. But there's hidden costs as well in terms of siloed and trapped information, in terms of the processing and the thinking that people have to do to remember, well, when did we last talk? Did we talk about this in a meeting? Was it a phone call? Was it a text message? Was it in Slack? Where was it? Where did that conversation happen? And that's not even saying anything about the content of that conversation. As we offer capability to record and to transcribe telephone calls and meetings and webinars, there's some really interesting search capabilities that are made available across those different communications. Being able to say, hey, I know I talked to Josh sometime last week, and just type in a fuzzy search for Josh or Telarus and have that conversation come up in my unified timeline. There's a lot of power and a lot of value there in bringing all of these different pieces together. But that's not the norm. The norm for most businesses out there is a siloed and fragmented UC experience.
Good, it's true. I mean, you can easily quantify how much time you can save by that. I mean, that hits home for everybody without a doubt. Let's switch gears here. Let's jump into security. This is obviously something near and dear to our heart, near and dear to everybody's heart. Let's talk about LastPass. This is a name that everybody knows. This is a huge value that everybody's seen. It's so easy that you get on a list, have I been owned? You can check and search, and you can realistically see I'm on these lists, right? And I know I use that same password for all those. Now I've got to go change them all. Talk to me about how you've seen LastPass change that game and how you're seeing LastPass come into that conversation.
Yeah, LastPass is a great fit for agents. And I'll tell you why, Josh. A big part of it is who's the buyer and what do they care about? And if we look at today, who is buying UC systems, who's buying unified communications and collaboration, it's generally speaking the IT leader in these organizations. Well, guess who's also buying security and password management and identity? It's that same IT buyer. You're talking to them anyway. So this is a great opportunity to introduce additional products and services into the conversation without having to switch buyers, without having to talk to a different set of folks to get approval. The LastPass story is pretty simple. It started with just replacing passwords and making it so that we don't do the all too human but still terribly stupid thing of reusing passwords across different websites and services. That creates a lot of risk. And businesses, it's a dumb thing to do in our personal lives. We really shouldn't. Hopefully all of you are using a password manager of one type or another. But in a business setting, it can be catastrophic. The cost and the implications to business continuity of a significant breach are increasingly disruptive, increasingly painful to businesses. So LastPass, from a kind of corporate controlled, centrally managed way, gives these IT leaders confidence that not only can they enforce and ensure best practices across their organization, but they can do that in a way that is streamlined to their internal IT services group. So as there is employee turnover, as there's other issues that have to be resolved, these IT leaders actually have access centrally to those corporate, to those business assets, to that business intellectual property to be able to manage it, take care of it. It's evolved. It's not just about password management anymore. It's now moving into multi-factor authentication, including touchless multi-factor authentication. You'll see some really interesting releases that have come out recently and that will continue to come out as we evolve and extend that LastPass portfolio to really think not just about passwords, but more broadly about identity, authentication, and security in general.
I brings up a good point. There's a lot of interesting and somewhat complex security identity management products out there that customers have access to, but it was eye-opening getting in the admin portal for LastPass from a corporate perspective and seeing how easy that is to visibly see where all my users are, what their authentication styles are, who do we need to make security recommendations to, but just to have as an admin easy access to all the features that I need, all the visibility that I need, to be able to help my users in any way, whether it's resetting or managing or whatever, centralizing that in a very, very easy portal that was extremely granular. And I would add too, is it was intuitive, because we've seen amazing products, and you're the product guy, right? You appreciate this. You see these amazing products, and then it's who designed this, right? With who's did we let an engineer design this? We're not good at designing stuff. We're not design people. We shouldn't do that. We just know the features, and we know how to talk about those things. But it was good to see how it was designed clearly with the intuitiveness in mind. So I appreciate that.
Great ad. It's kind of that blend where, from the end user standpoint, you've talked, I'm sure, in some of these meetings or training with your agents about the consumerization of IT. It's this massive change that is really just influencing what we expect in terms of the tools and the software that we use. And LastPass does that really well. From an end user standpoint, it feels very consumer friendly, easy to use, intuitive. I've personally set up my mother-in-law, my father-in-law on this tool, and they're able to get it on it just fine. But from the IT standpoint, we haven't sacrificed the power and the capability of the system. It remains an incredibly powerful tool for IT organizations to assist their user base in having better password security.
That's the test right there. If you can get the in-laws on, you're good to go. Let's talk about, let's go to number 3 here. Let's talk about Goto Rooms. Talk to me about what the thought process is in that. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about these painful experiences that people have come from, dreading having to go into this conference and maybe getting there 10, 15 minutes early just to make sure AV is ready so that we can use this hour that we need. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, there's a number of pains in the video conferencing space. A big one is cost and complexity. The ability to have a telepresence experience is not new. We've had that for decades. It's just, as you note, been really expensive and really complex. And often it's not even just you showing up 15 minutes early, but you having a dedicated AV specialist in your organization, and he or she shows up early to make sure that your meeting goes well. So what we set out when we were building Goto Room, we set out to solve a couple of key problems. One was complexity. Complexity not just of use, but also of deployment. If you're an organization and you want to outfit your huddle rooms and your conference spaces with telepresence, it's a big pain in the butt. You're going to be writing a big check often for contractor labor, for custom work, and it's a really high bar for organizations. And so what happens is that they don't put it in all their rooms. There's 1 or 2 rooms that people aren't really familiar with. So every time they go into it, it's a new learning experience, and it doesn't add the value that it could across the organization. One of the, excuse me, one of the key value props for the Goto Room product is ease of deployment. Unboxing to first use in 15 minutes or less by a non-technical user. It shows up plug and play, it shows up ready, you plug it into power, you plug it into network, you plug the components in, and you're up and running. That lowers the bar a lot in terms of where you deploy this inside of an organization. You couple that with the cost-effective nature. This is available for less than $100 a month on a device as a service model, and that's including the license. That's all in under $100 a month, or a pretty cost-effective purchase for organizations that want to purchase outright. And you combine that ease of deployment with the low cost of entry, and we're talking to organizations that are increasingly just deploying this across their entire fleet of collaboration spaces. This is really interesting now as organizations adopt to the new normal of a hybrid distributed workforce. Right now, depending on where you're at in the world, you might be on total lockdown, or maybe you can get into the office on occasion. But we're not going to go back to a norm of most people in the office most days. And being able to flow in and out of these different spaces, a home office, my desk, a huddle room, and still have my tool set work the same way, really important to organizations. And that speaks to the third point with Goto Room, around consumer, end user ease of use. These devices, there's a touch screen. It's integrated with your calendar. So you can just walk in and touch to start your next meeting. It's integrated with the Goto Meeting mobile app. So it'll be a Bluetooth, it'll discover their nearby rooms, and you can just tap to start your meeting or to invite people in a meeting, making it really user-friendly. So those three key pieces with Goto Room: ease of deployment, unboxing to first meeting in 15 minutes or less, cost-effective, under $100 a month, and then easy for end users to actually adopt and start using. We're super excited. I could talk about this one all day, but we're really excited about Goto Room.
Because we got a demo unit on it, and we played with it, right? We love when we get a chance for these products that we're out there representing. It's not all the time that we can get, that we can play with these, get our hands in them and see how they work and what the nuances are, if there is any. And so we got this demo unit, and the very first thing that I noticed, right, was the speakerphone. We got this omni-channel, this great speakerphone, and obviously the density of it was nice, the quality of it was nice. So you instantly had an expectation of, okay, right, there was thought process put into this design. It's thick, it's got quality to it, and I mean the instructions were 4 or 5 steps, right? We've got the little basic station, we plug the power in, we connect these devices. I had the thing synced up directly to my account, to the calendar, and I had it on the monitor and the TV, and to your point, in about 15 minutes. And what I liked was that, picture this experience. We go from trying to figure all of this out, whose meeting did we use, what did we do, and what I liked was when this thing is connected up directly to the TV, HDMI, or whatever you're using, it defaultly left the user who's logged in their link to their GoToWebinar, GoToPC login right there, so that they could pop right in. Anybody that comes in the meeting can join right in, can share that, can dial right, I mean, whatever, right? Audio is very, very simple. And then you think of the end user, if I'm sending my meetings out and I use that conference room, that link goes on with it. There's no question, who set it up? How do I get into it? What do I do? Boom, I'm in. And the other point I want to talk about, if you can talk about this for a minute, was the design and the camera aspect of it. So there was some, if we geek out for a second here, there was some cool feature functionality that I noticed that camera had capability-wise with regard to whiteboards. So you want to talk about what that is? Because that was a
Sure.
a shock moment for me. That was cool.
Yeah, and maybe I'll back it just a little bit. The Goto Room hardware, we support 3 different hardware families. We launched first with Dolby, which is the kit that Josh is referring to. Fantastic experience, a lot of great things about it. In particular on the camera, it does some really intelligent auto framing of individuals. So it'll zoom in, it'll get it right, get the right framing for people. But you can also put it in a mode where it will detect whiteboards. And it'll take that whiteboard, and often the whiteboard is maybe at a little bit of an angle. It'll correct the angle, do some really cool things to help that room be more effective. It also does some smart things with improving the contrast on lighting and other things, so that users can look and feel confident in their appearance. We recently, I believe it might even have been just last week or the week before, but are announcing support for additional hardware families. The Polycom line of all-in-one X series, great quality hardware, boots up right on the load experience. So a customer buys that, they just put in their code when it boots up, and the unit auto configures. We're also working with Logitech and their Rally series and their Tap touchscreens. So increasingly working across the ecosystem to match the preferences of our channel community, of our partners, and also the preferences of individual end users. So there's some great capabilities. It's a product that we are actively developing. We release regularly on it. Upcoming releases across, and we're in beta on some of this stuff, since this is a nerd talk here, but we're in beta on some really interesting things around third-party join. Because what happens if that calendar gets invited to a Skype meeting or Microsoft Team meetings or a Zoom meeting? We don't want that hardware, that Goto Room hardware, to just be locked in. That doesn't feel like that'd be a good return on investment for our customers. So you'll be able to actually join with a single tap from the calendar a Zoom, WebEx, Teams, soon to be Google Meet as well, and we'll be expanding out the ecosystem from there. So some really cool things to try and help our customers take advantage. It also comes with one other piece. It comes with a local screen share. So instead of, in many offices or huddle rooms, you'll walk in and there'll be maybe one of those dongles that you plug in, HDMI capture, so that you can share the screen from the laptop. It's just built right into the Goto Room software. You go to a URL, put in the 6-digit code that shows up on the screen, and you can push your screen, your content to the TV in that room.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, excited to see more developments coming out of that thing. I mean, just really making a collaborative meeting room with those who are there and who are not there, because again, who knows how long this thing lasts, what it looks like. We're eventually going to need to draw on whiteboards, and we're going to need to interact, and we're going to need to talk, and we've got to make sure that those remote users have that experience, that equal experience as if they're there. So okay, let's go product number 4 here. Let's talk about Goto Meeting, Goto Webinar. Goto Meeting, let's talk about what it is and what the capabilities are there, and then where that extends to from a Goto Webinar perspective.
Yeah, Goto Meeting and Goto Webinar are really kind of category defining products. Some of the earliest products to do what they do in the space. Goto Webinar, we pretty much invented the term webinar and have great experience there across both of those portfolio products, serving millions and millions and millions of active users across there. Goto Webinar, Goto Meeting share a couple of things in common. They both have a real strong focus on the user experience. Very intuitive, very easy to get in. We do a number of things to make it more comfortable for users to engage via video. Often that's very uncomfortable for people, so having a preview, being able to see what it's going to look like before I join, get the lighting right, get the camera right, make sure my hair is looking okay, is a real comfort to a lot of people. From a quality standpoint, the quality is fantastic, industry-leading SLAs and uptime, and the availability of that product around the world. We're in, I think over 170 different countries with those products. Sizing products, I mean, Goto Meeting comes in a few flavors. You want to, 150 participants, 250 participants. Goto Webinar is up to 3,000 participants and even beyond. We have customers that will use it in a webcast type of setting for 10,000 plus participants. And it flows seamlessly across those different experiences. One of the things it does as well that people increasingly like is recordings and transcripts. We don't charge additional for recordings and transcripts. That's included, depending on the tier you're at, that's included as part of the portfolio offering, which is super useful when it comes time to pulling value out of the interaction after the fact. Being able to search it, being able to see who's talking where, being able to click on the transcript and have the video advance to that point so you can listen in, get the additional context, read the body language, those types of things. There's a lot that we're doing. The focus of Goto Meeting and Goto Webinar is to help people effectively collaborate and communicate wherever they are in the world. We don't need to be in the same physical spaces. It's good to get together. We have tools like Goto Room, lots of other tools that will support that. But particularly today, we have to be able to work as effectively together, even if we're all in home offices or coffee shops or wherever we are spread across the world. And Goto Meeting, Goto Webinar, other portfolio products have a pretty big role to play in that.
I love it. You guys, you help us, right? We appreciate that because look, we our partners get us in obviously to all customers, all walks of life, all different business styles, and they all need something different. And so what we talk about on this call and what we talk about an hour later, that customer need is completely different. So, you know, I can appreciate as we wrap up kind of talking about these different products, we've seen you've got the UC, you've got the collaboration component of it, you've got the integrations and ties into contact center. I can set up all my different conference rooms at an affordable price with an easy experience. I can, and let's not forget about security, right? I can secure this environment. I can keep that company data. I can manage who has access to that, who authenticates in, what they do with that data. And then obviously, you know, what we're talking about now. This is going to go on for a while. Regardless, we've got a great way to communicate. We've got a great way to collaborate. And I really think this whole thing has forged the use of video, where now using video and it's almost weird when we don't do video calls and we just do audio calls. So the technology hopefully has gotten kind of a little bit of a leap of volume and usage out of this. So it's been cool to see. It's been cool to see and be part of it. So let's talk about, we've covered these products. Let's look at future, right? Let's talk about improvements in the last 6 months and kind of what you've seen, and then let's kind of leave everybody with what do you see from a product roadmap perspective. So talk about past and let's talk about where we're going.
Great. A couple big releases we've had so far this year is one that you alluded to a second ago, Josh, was contact center. There's a huge contact center need out there, and it's a well-defined market, and we partner with a number of the players there. But if we look at organizations, particularly as they're suddenly and rapidly distributed, it becomes more and more difficult to just keep track of what's happening across the system and really feel like you've got your hands around your customer interactions, inbound or outbound. LogMeIn, we released a contact center product. It launched in April, and at this point has over 10,000 users, 10,000 agents on the contact center platform in just a few short months. And really focused on the support center cases, building on top of the Goto Connect product offering, the integrated offering that is came from Jive and Goto Meeting coming together as products, but embeds a call center experience in there with skills-based routing and queue management and agent status and the things that you need to just kind of manage and have visibility into your business. It's been a tremendously successful launch for us over the last couple months, and I know many in your community have participated in that, and we hope to see more. The very, very cost-effective, a fraction of the going rate for a contact center seat outside of this, and we've seen a tremendous amount of success with it. What's coming new on that product is some more outbound or revenue generating focused pieces, starting to introduce dialer capabilities, the ability to, you get a voicemail, click a button, the system will leave a voicemail for you while you go on to the next call, those type of capabilities. But we're introducing them in a way that is more consumerized, that is simpler and easier to consume, so that it doesn't require a big multi-week or multi-month contact center deployment and then a lot of specialized management. Kind of similar to the Goto Room story, our goal for our contact center offering is to have you up and running and done, like fully configured in an afternoon. And we're delivering on that for these customers. So it's been a really exciting thing for us. The Goto Room product will see incremental launches as we support more hardware, as we support more capabilities. Across Goto Webinar, Goto Training, Goto Meeting, we're doing improvements to change and improve how we support additional webcams. We're bringing the products together, integrating those experiences further. We're making analytics and diagnostic reports and those types of things more accessible to you as a channel community, but also to the IT folks that are inside of your client organizations. So it's a good time. A lot of investments coming to fruition in the second half of this year, investments we've been making in some cases for multiple years. It's a good time to be a LogMeIn partner.
Love it. I feel like we've known you guys forever. It's been so long. It's been great to see this growth and everything that's come out of it. So last thing I want to talk about is that specifically to that key point, I think partners may get engaged with you at a certain point. and understand and get familiar with these product sets, and that's it, right? So they form an opinion of this is what they do. Great, got it. And look, partners have to go move on to all kinds of different things. They got to keep going and going. So talk about a couple key things as we wrap this up. That what do you want them to remember with the LogMeIn and Jive, right? Where do you want to see yourself positioned, right? Do we want to cater to one certain size of the market? Where do you think that should be?
Great question. LogMeIn has a really broad portfolio. We have lots of customers that are very small, that might have low single-digit number of employees. But increasingly, most of our revenue is coming from larger customers with hundreds of employees. The beauty of the portfolio, whether this is the Goto Connect product, Goto Room, Contact Center, Goto Meeting, Goto Webinar, is that it scales up, but it also scales down. And so it ends up being a partner in your portfolio that you can just, if you'll pardon the expression, that can be your go-to partner for customers and prospects of all these different sizes. We've really built it that way by design. Our hope is that partners that maybe have only tried us in one segment, maybe you've only tried us with larger school districts, give us a shot in some of your commercial accounts. Maybe a partner has only tried us for some SMB opportunities. Let's get together and talk about how we can bring Goto Room, LastPass, Contact Center, and other pieces to round out a mid-market or emerging enterprise offering. There's a lot of breadth in that portfolio, and we look forward to supporting our partners and our community regardless of the need.
I like it. And to wrap up, the strategy that I like is that when you have such a great product set, a wide product set that you have, and you've got the great support model behind it, the great name, the great all the things that come along with that, if we can get in with just LastPass, or we can get in with just the voice piece, or if we can get in with hey, I have a conference room need, I think it's important that as partners watch these, they're aware of all the different pieces that we've talked about, and then it can fit into organizations of all different sizes, and get in with whatever the need is that we can help you crack into with what that customer has at the time. But let's stay with those accounts. Those companies are all going to have a need for all of these different pieces at one time or another. So if they get in, they have a great experience with this one piece, right, the piece that you guys do at the time, then let's revisit it. When you do your QBRs with your customers, let's stay with that and see what other pieces are there at the time, because at the end, what we want to hear is, oh yeah, that's a great recommendation. We've had a great experience with LogMeIn with regard to LastPass. I wonder if they can do this other project, right? Those are the things that we want to see. And then again, that adds huge value for the partners, and you guys will hold up your end of the bargain in supporting that and running that product. And so we're excited. We're excited to see where the future goes.
Thanks, Josh.
Awesome. Okay. So we're wrapping up here today. Hope you got some great experience out of everything that we've talked about. Learned a lot about LogMeIn. Excited as we do these Race to the Summit series to really dive in at a deep level and kind of geek out with folks like Mike here and understand everything that's going on at the company. So Mike, I appreciate it again. Mike Sharp, Chief Product Officer at LogMeIn over the UCC business unit. Mike, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Cool. Until next time, everybody. We'll see you.